Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 260 of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. My name is David Reed. I really appreciate you being here for this episode because I have a couple of very special people, and she is just in time. Look at that. I have Peter DeLuise, writer, producer, and director of Stargate, and Anne Marie DeLuise, who played multiple parts in SG-1. How are you guys?
We're good.
Great. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you guys. How hot, is it hot in Vancouver yet?
No, we're getting a miserable, slow start to summer this year.
We just call it, at this point, we just call it not raining.
Although it is sunny right now, so that's good.
Well, I really appreciate you being here, Anne Marie. I got to meet you a couple of years ago at GateCon really briefly. And Peter and I go way back, but I've never had the chance to see you guys together more than like that 5 minutes. So it really means a lot to me that you've taken a little time to be with us and the fans this afternoon. So, do you know just how big a thing this Stargate fandom is through Peter or through anything that you've watched, or was it just he's going to work today?
No, I mean, I've been aware of it. I mean, the show it ended a long time ago, and the fact that there are still conventions and stuff is a testament to the power of the show. And the fans are true blue, and they're still fighting for a new version. And I think that might be in the works, but with different people, from what I hear.
Something's coming along. God knows what it is. I hear a different thing every few weeks. Yeah. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But I always assumed incorrectly that you guys met on the set of The Other Side, and that was wrong.
Oh, no. We were already dating him.
Yeah, we don't like to brag about that. We knew each other before that. And you would come to work a few times, right? And they were aware of you, who you were, right?
Yeah. Well, we met so I did
Tell me the story. I want to know the story.
And I'll do the brief version. I have ADHD, so I tend to go off on tangents, so he'll keep me in line. But so we met the previous year in 1999, September. I had just booked a lead in a TV series called Higher Ground. So I was the female lead with Joe Lando. And so Peter, when I started that show, Peter was my director my very first day. And we were both single and had both been single for a while and really not interested in getting into anything serious. And my very first day, he was absolutely hilarious and charming and gorgeous and kind. And he took me under his wing. And it was my first series regular at the time. And so he kind of, gave me some really sound advice. And I just was like, I really like this guy. And he ended up over the course of that season directing 4 episodes. The first 2 were before we started dating, and then the next 2 were after we started dating, which was very different for me because suddenly I was very self-conscious and I really wanted him to think I was good and all that. And then
I knew she was very talented. There was no way that it was just her attractiveness alone that was going to catch my eye.
Yeah, well, we both agreed that we wanted to be with people who were smart and talented. That was a deal breaker.
You want to have someone who's going to, not only prop you up and make you look good. I got ADHD, so he's going to keep me in line. Things like that are complement to marriage, but also someone who will challenge you intellectually, or not so much.
Absolutely. That was a definite. And so, so we had met. We had worked together.
Stimulate your brains as well as your loins.
Okay. So yeah, we had known each other. So September, that show, I was on there from September to March. And then I literally came off of Higher Ground and went straight on to the set for The Other Side.
Wow.
And I had a really bad cold or a sinus infection.
So before any of your viewers think that Anne Marie was just hired because she was my girlfriend.
I had to audition too.
I don't know if you can see this. Can you lean in and
Yeah.
show them your eyes, my darling?
Oh, yeah. Well, because
Get
I
in
was
there,
playing.
get in there, get in there. So
They're
that
really
this
good.
was part of the plot twist, was that the people of the people that Alar was representing, or that Farrell and Alar, Alar played by
The Eurondans.
The Eurondans, that's right. Rene Auberjonois.
Yeah.
right? So it wasn't an accident that they were supposed to we were perpetrating this not so subtle Nazi thing about purebred white people, right? And Emery has piercingly blue eyes, which when you first see them, it's hard to form sentences, right? And so, in addition to being my girlfriend, she also had the absolutely perfect look as Alar's second in command, right?
And I did a good audition. I mean,
and she did an awesome.
there was a lot of sci-fi being shot in Vancouver at the time, and
we knew what the job was.
yeah, I was a lieutenant, second in command. Yeah.
So
It wasn't
Very committed to the cause.
right. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think now. Did all of the Eurondans have the same color of eyes even?
No,
Oh,
they
okay.
white. They were all
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The scene where they go in through and they get the tour and they're all in these
In the
chambers,
pods.
the pods,
Yeah.
and you can see, and all of a sudden you realize that they all look the same. They all
Yeah,
look very
exactly. I just wanted to see how far down you would take it, because he called out your eyes, which they are striking. But I was like, were all their eyes the same color too? Is that how specific they are with their genetic engineering or their breeding programs?
No, we couldn't afford that. It was a little too expensive.
It
To
was
have
just about
everybody with piercing blue eyes. Yeah.
Aryan looking. Yeah.
Okay.
But that was a hard that particular. I know I'm getting a little off topic there, but that was a difficult match shot to achieve, because you were supposed to notice that it was only white people, right? And that the Eurondans were not inclusive, right? And that the other side, the breeders, were inclusive, and that there was some non-white representation in there. But we didn't get a chance to see them very well until we saw just a flash of them when the one drone slammed into the bomber, right?
I said the reconnaissance vessel was unmanned.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But their bombers are manned.
But also,
creepy
there
scene.
were, I reread the synopsis and everything. I cheated last night just to remind myself, because it was 25 years ago.
I don't think it's cheating. I think it's more conscientious.
Yeah, to be refreshing my memory. But there was also allusions where, because Rene Auberjonois' character Alar was not wanting Teal'c to be there, send him back, and he was making little things that were alluding to it. So then you kind of caught on. So when you saw that like Peter said, the match shot, then it was sort of like
it clicks, because you're watching Jack's reaction unspooling, because he's very protective of Teal'c, for on a host of levels, and it's that
great line. He's concealing something. What do you think it is? I don't know.
He's concealing it.
That's why I love that.
I think we all said that line like 25 times.
Oh, it was so funny. And it's you can only make those kind of jokes early in the first act, right? Because when it's still lighthearted, but then as it gets more and more serious, the jokes tend to go away. But you always gotta take your opportunity early on in the show. So sorry, David,
no,
I
it's
interrupted.
okay. Anne Marie, when you got the script, do you remember anything about? I know this is a stretch. That first read through, it's one of Brad Wright's, in my opinion, one of his. I mean, he had so many great scripts, but this is one of my favorite episodes from the show, and it's one of the reasons that I've wanted to have you on here.
We didn't do a sit down read through.
Okay, but you did read the script before coming on.
I'm a professional, David, don't you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. For the audition, I would have only had the sides for my scenes. And then you get the full script, and of course you inhale it before you ever set. So yeah.
What do you think of it as a piece of drama as a whole, in terms of what sci-fi is? Are you a sci-fi fan?
I would say not particularly, in that it's not my first go-to. I'm going to confess something to you. Of all the Stargates, universe was my favorite because of the humanity. I prefer the sci-fi setting to be the backdrop to people reacting to extraordinary circumstances, and to be set in those all these different worlds and places. I think it's just a great storytelling device. But sci-fi for the sake of sci-fi, like just people standing on ships and button pushing. That is boring to me.
But you see the socially relevant.
That's what I was getting to.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of the story, of course, it was, and I think that, I mean, I did watch Star Trek when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, who didn't? And I've worked with, oh my God, help me, Shatner, William Shatner.
Yeah.
I did a TV with him a million years ago back
You
in Toronto.
were on Andromeda.
I did Andromeda.
Look, if I do this,
Oh yeah,
do you recognize?
that was the first. I did a couple.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you don't. Well, that's okay.
Haven't seen Andromeda.
It's not for you. That's fine.
Yeah, well, that was when I played an alien. I had
She had
prosthetics. I had like raised thingies. I had to be there
had a
at 3
thingy
in the
on her
morning
head.
to get
Yeah.
prosthetics on. But then we did one together.
little
We played
puppy.
husband and wife when I was pregnant with Jake.
Really?
We played husband and wife on an episode of Andromeda. That's a funny one. It was really silly.
I'm going to go and watch this.
Oh my God, he should have won an award for that episode. He did not direct it.
It was in the style of the Commedia dell'arte.
Yeah, it was over the
very
top.
over the top.
And he was basically playing King Henry VIII with like literally swinging a drumstick and a goblet of
It was
food.
fun.
It was really fun.
All right.
I had to wear a hat that was a crown that was
And you're
3 feet
British.
tall, and I was pregnant.
In the script, were you pregnant too?
What's that?
In the script, were you pregnant too?
No.
Oh,
But I
okay.
was this big brocade covered big gown. It was
We've been trying for a long time.
yeah, and I just
And,
happened to get pregnant and
that
booked a role, and
That was Jake's first job on camera.
yeah,
He was in there.
the only person
He looked like this. Hey,
he was too lit. He was only
Hey.
like this big at that point. But the only person who knew I was pregnant was the
that's how
ward.
I imagine a baby in the womb. Hey, it's warm in here.
The
Well-
only person who knew I was pregnant was the wardrobe
Jeez.
and him.
The episode has a lot, I think, going on beneath the surface, because we've been trying to get technology. We've been trying to prove our worth as an organization. And we finally get someone who not only says, hey, we've got this stuff, but we're willing to share it with you for water. You know, it's game changing for the show. But Jack's usually the one who's pushing this. And Daniel's like, I don't know, you know, we need to get more information. And Jack wakes up to the realization that, you know, not everything is as awesome as it seems. We do need to do a little bit more research. It's one of the best, in my opinion.
The moral dilemma, and then saying close the iris when Rene Auberjonois was trying to come through. Yeah,
And then Brad totally nailed that, right? Because so he thematically he knew exactly the moral dilemma and how it would play out, and that we would see O'Neill do something that we don't usually see him do. I mean, we know that he was capable of it because of his Black Ops history, but that was a closer to a Kurt Russell O'Neill than a RDA O'Neill.
I would agree with that. Peter,
when I was
please go ahead.
I was reading last night that this was very parallel to what happened during World War II with the Nazis, that they had technology, but they didn't have resources to implement and to keep going. And it was very, very similar. So that part of sci-fi, I do love. That when I talk about the humanity, that's what I'm talking about, you know, a circumstance where it's a mirror to society. And through great storytelling and reflecting back to people that this, you know.
Absolutely.
I think thematically that it was rewards at what cost, right? That was the technology, but at what cost, right? So I mean, even the NASA program, and I know a lot of people are aware of this already, but some are not. That the whole American space race was headed by Wernher von Braun, who learned most of his foundational rocketry stuff by being a scientist for the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of history there, and it's not just so black and white. And you can't always come out from the other end, you know, looking down the barrel of history saying, we made all the right turns, you know, in all the right directions all the way down. History is messy, and I think that it's great for our heroes to be tested against similar situations where we know that we've got an enemy beating down our door that will wipe us out if we don't get, you know, the bomb built in time, as it were, to get strong enough to protect ourselves. But Jack, when it comes down to it, he sees his friend being mistreated, and that's the first antenna that goes off in his head. You can see it. And then he begins to dig, tells Daniel he's sorry, and continues to dig, and we get where we're going.
I love that ego battle of wanting to be right, and O'Neill really like telling him to shut up and put him in his place, but then finally realizing and doing the right thing. And the apology, I think, was particularly healthy, to not just begrudgingly say you were right, but he actually apologized. Yeah.
Is that David, these episodes so well because they're so fresh for you. That wasn't our first foray into breaking the Prime Directive, right? Like we never saw Prime Directive, but here we are getting involved with a culture early on, because that was in fact very early on in the show.
They pull up Gate World.
It's
not as fresh as you, because I'm curious as well.
I didn't mean you'd have to look it up. It just felt if you followed Star Trek, you would almost immediately recognize this as breaking the Prime Directive and getting involved with
Demons had a lot of interference as well, which the demon comes. But this was one of the bigger ones, absolutely. But it wasn't necessarily like the first time that we upended a society for better or for worse. And one of the things that I love about a later episode in season 4, which was the Double Jeopardy episode that Shanks directed, was that you can come along and transform a society, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. In that case, someone else came onto the planet and took over and just absolutely leveled the people right back to where they were before. So just because we make a positive change temporarily doesn't mean it's going to stick, and doesn't mean that, we're capable of completely empowering the people to take care of themselves. There's a lot going on there. But I really wanted to know, Peter, from you first, and then Anne Marie, what was it like working with the great Rene Auberjonois?
Well, I was aware of him from Deep Space Nine, and the show was always interested in crossover whenever possible. And so I was excited about the prospect of working with him. And of course, he didn't have any of the prosthetics that he had on that show as the head of security for the Deep Space Station. So but you're always cautious because you don't want to meet your heroes and then have your illusions shattered, right? But he was super sweet. He knew exactly what he was doing, and I think he was excited about playing this kind of character, right? Because he knew that he needed to elicit sympathy early on, and then eventually reveal himself to be not as morally pure as we had hoped. And then what does he do? He throws everybody else under the bus and just tries to save himself, right? So that was quite an arc, an interesting 3-part story he got to do.
Yeah, my experience of him was absolutely lovely. He was a total professional, kind, sweet, pleasant. I mean,
not a diva at all.
No, yeah, zero, just absolute pro.
And I say that because he could be, right? He was a well-known science fiction entity, and so he could say, bring me Diet Coke, which is, of course, what all the divas say.
That's a story from somewhere else, but no, he was so lovely. And he, I was still a younger actor at the time, and there was absolutely no sense of, treating me like a newbie or less than or any of that. He was just awesome.
Yeah. Did Rick know, how big he was in the sci-fi sphere? Some of their scenes together are just great.
Yeah, Rick, when he gets to be in a scene with somebody who's got some gravitas to them, he's excited about that because he doesn't want to. If you're playing tennis, you want to have a good partner to hit the ball back to you, right? We didn't. He was just a super sweet guy, and there was no complaints. Just
I think there was a sense on set that everybody knew that it was a
it was a
special,
big
it
deal
was a
that
special
he
guest
was on
star
the
to have
show.
him there.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of came in and did his thing like everybody else and didn't expect any special treatment at all. He was just lovely.
But apparently he had a really good time because he mentioned something of, Alar's twin or something. Wasn't that Peter?
Coming back, right? Yeah, because they were working with genetics, so maybe he could come back.
Yeah,
You never say never in sci-fi.
Yeah, no, I think he seemed to be quite
never
thrilled
really
to
did.
be there, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he really enjoyed it.
And we shot that. The conditions were a little bit wonky because we shot that at the Norco stage. We called Norco because it was Norco is a bike company and a bicycle company, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Norco was a bicycle. It was
Factory?
a building that where they created the bicycles, right? The factory, and it was no longer being used for that, and it was now had been converted into a studio. So it was off the lot. It wasn't at the Brooks. It wasn't at the
Bridge.
The Bridge.
Bridge,
It wasn't at the Bridge Studios. It was actually where Sanctuary ended up finding its home. Yeah, and in the Norco studio.
Okay.
And Norco, one of the things that was weird about Norco, because it was an older building, was the ventilation wasn't great, and so it was hard with the hot lights and everything on certain days. It was actually hard.
The atmospheric
Sometimes
smoke.
when we used atmospheric smoke and the ventilation being the way it was, everybody would get sort of sleepy, so we called that snorko. It was snorkel, and everybody had narcolepsy. We had everyone.
And I went in there with a bad cold right at the end of the season from coming off a higher ground, and I was really struggling. I think I was on antihistamines and stuff. And so we have a couple of funny stories because we were reminiscing about the episode.
Oh, just to finish that thought,
Okay,
we also had to drop dirt. We would have
exactly.
was a guy just with a bread basket or a bread tin of dirt, and it would go up and over his head, and they would go boom, 3, 2, 1, boom, and they'd shake the camera, and the guy would go shake, 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 and the dirt would come down, and the dirt would come down.
Dust. And
you go,
because they're in a bunker, they're trying to survive.
They had to do that, and then you wanted to tell the story about.
Well, there were two stories that we remembered.
Emery was the lieutenant, the second in command, but there was
Farrell.
yet a speaking character.
Yeah, so then I had my little soldiers that I had to give instructions to at one point, and there was a young actor who became a friend of ours over the years, Cassie.
Yeah.
And so because Peter was directing the episode,
Just a sweetheart of a guy, very smart.
Yeah, good actor. He's actually in Deadpool. He had a funny role in Deadpool.
So he had almost no lines. So to audition, was just like, yes, sir, or the breeders are attacking again, or whatever it is.
Move out, or like he had something simple, soldiery, bland line, and so he was trying to.
So he was going to try to
make it interesting.
He's tried something during the audition.
Yeah.
So want to do it, or you want?
No, you do it.
Okay.
He was there.
So he said, "The enemy is attacking," and your line was,
move out.
Move out. Okay. Ping, ping, mung, mung. This way.
Like he made up some
ridiculous alien sounding names and said this way, but did it absolutely serious. And Brad Wright and I this is in the audition, threw our heads back. We were laughing. We thought that was just hilarious because what chutzpah, what moxie to do that, right? To say to our faces, these silly alien names, right?
And with a straight face.
The second the door closed after him, they're like, let's hire that guy.
And because he was fun, he was having fun, and it was like, wow, you got to spend time with him. You might as well be him.
Right, and he was willing to bring something. And Peter and I have told that story. We've taught acting classes over the years, and we always tell that story to young actors as when you say bring something, this is what we're talking about,
Well, that never made the light of day. He didn't say ping, ping, mung, mung, come this way.
But it got him in the door.
It made him memorable.
Yeah.
He was the guy who fill in the blank, made fun, right?
Yeah.
Or had some chutzpah. And he's basically saying with in not so many words, I'm fun to be around. I'm smart.
Yeah. And the other story was so my character Farrell, you did not see her demise in the script on the page.
So she
But-
just disappeared. All chaos breaks loose, and I was
being
like,
attacked.
my girlfriend's part doesn't have an ending. There's no curtain call. We don't know what happens to her.
So he decided to kill me. So he decided to drop the giant rock on
You want
me.
to act it out?
No.
Come on, just get back there.
What are you talking? No, I'll
Just
do
do
it.
it.
I'll do it shitty too. Sorry, I'll do it bad today. And-
We're allowed to swear a little bit, right?
A little
No,
bit.
So here's how it would just lean back a little.
Okay.
So I took a giant styrofoam rock, and this is not scripted, and so I said, just look.
He's put me way behind it
Yeah,
and
and
he
I
just-
said, look up,
and go.
and go, and then boom, and the rock went down. And she instantly understood what was required. She looked up, went like this, and then dropped down. And I let this giant styrofoam rock, not unlike the one in Wormhole Extreme.
Right? At your brother? No,
hit
at Daniel's character.
Yeah. So I was just off camera looking at the onboard camera, and the force perspective worked so well because it looks bigger when it's full. And she went like this,
And dropped to
and
the floor.
everybody was watching the monitor and went, "Oh!" And even I, who had done it, thought I had accidentally flung the rock in her direction, and she had made contact with her.
Because it was so good. That
She
drop.
bought it.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
So that was a fun little. Hey, now we get to see what happens to Farrell. She was crushed by a giant styrofoam rock.
So, Anne Marie, did you have to ADR that scream, or was that on set? That's a pretty vicious death.
I can vouch for her. She's an excellent screamer.
I've had to scream many times in movies.
Sometimes,
remember, to be honest.
when I get out of line.
Look here, mister. I don't know. I can't remember if I had to ADR it or not. I know I probably yelled it on the day, but
Yeah.
there was a lot going on.
It's possible. It was a long time ago, but when things like screaming or if you're shaking dust or dirt out of a thing, you're going to hear. And then, so a lot of the time stuff is contaminated. I'm sure Rene had to ADR quite a bit of his screaming when he was chasing them out towards the Stargate, because there was a lot of chaos going on then.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you're shooting, you just accept the fact that so you don't try to cut down ADR time on the day, right? Or do you try to preserve as much audio as you can at the expense of other activities on the screen?
So
I'm
the
curious.
answer is you have to know when to cut your losses. So
Okay.
if there are too many special effects, those are practical effects that are happening on the set, and you just know you can't do it, right? Without making that noise, then you just say, this is as good as it's going to get. Sometimes as a compromise, you'll stop the effects and just have them do it, what we call doing a wild line in the actual environment, which gives you the best version of the sound because it's in the actual chamber that the sound took place in. And then as a last resort, you go into the studio and you say it right into the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're outside and there's a plane overhead, they'll say, hold for the plane. We wait a few
Right.
seconds, then you go again.
Unless
Yeah.
the planes are constant and
Yeah.
you're never going to get your day.
Yeah.
Then you just have to muscle through.
Yeah, if
right?
you're near near.
Wow.
No,
Or if you're
right?
right next to a fountain or running water.
Waterfall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or a
Have you ever-
tram going by.
Listen,
Hold
have
for
you ever
tram.
asked yourself why tram is the elevated train that goes by the studio? That was, have you ever asked yourself why? I think if you ever watch MacGyver, you'll see that behind Richard Dean Anderson, there's nobody. And then the person he's talking to, there's tons of people walking to and fro. And it's because they want Richard Dean Anderson to ADR less, right? So having the noise back behind him, because he's otherwise engaged, because he's number one on the call sheet. He's going to be having to be on camera all the time. So there's way less time for him to do ADR, right? So if you're going to preserve somebody's sound, it might as well be Richard Dean Anderson's lines, whereas the guest star is presumably going to have some free time to do some ADR later.
That makes a lot of sense too. Robert Picardo always talked about when he was on Voyager, he quickly learned not to close the tricorder while he was speaking. He would actually add a break and save himself ADR time.
Right, sir. I think that's for a good idea.
That's it. Now, Anne Marie, Is ADR built into your contract that you're going to have to, in general, as an actor, I'm curious, that you're going to have to potentially come back and shoot that? How does that work?
Well, it's understood that if it's required that you do it, it's a part of the job. I'm sure it's in the contract. I never see contracts. My agent just signs them for me. And it's basically under union rules, there's just a particular hourly fee in the 2-hour minimum. So even if you have 1 line or 45 lines, you go in and for a maximum of 2 hours. If it goes longer than that, then you get paid a little bit extra on an hourly rate.
Well, appreciate the clarification. That's really cool. Yeah, all the little movie magic things that have to take place in order to make these things work, you know. But yeah, Wild Lines, that makes a lot of sense because you're in the same sound space and it's going to sound better than producing it in a booth later on. Yeah. So now, Peter, as a director, are you always there, sometimes there, or never there for the loops, for the loop readings?
The answer is sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you have to have someone that you trust, who knows the content to be there to plug it in.
Yeah. The people who are supervising they know way more than I'll ever know about sound quality. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a cave environment and you're crowding the mic in the studio and you say, "Look out!" They go, "Oh, can you just back off the mic?" Because and then they also have a way of fixing the sound so that it sounds like it's in a chamber or a rocky chamber, and they can adjust the size of the synthetic chamber that your voice is in. So there's a whole bunch of things they can do after the fact.
And also the post-production supervisor is usually hired for the whole show. So they're consistent and they're always there when the actors come in to do ADR. And so they understand about performance and making sure that it matches what was happening on the day.
So if I'm prepping or shooting the next show, then I wouldn't be able to go in. That wouldn't be, we wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah.
Where was that done? Was that done at Bridge? Was there a space? Or was that at like Sharp Sound?
I can share this with you. There was a truck that did come onto the Bridge Studios to help make Richard Dean Anderson's day feasible, but that was not made available to all the actors. Many of the actors had to go to the I think it was Pinewood.
There's Pinewood, Sharp.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a bunch of in-house
all around town
you go to. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense when you only have an actor for a certain amount of time. You come to them if you can. So that makes a lot of sense. All right.
And also, usually the looping happens like a couple of weeks after. It's once they've finished, they've locked the episode.
Right.
And
so
then,
you're not going to fix sound that you're not going to use. So you have to lock the episode. You say, these are the exact frames that we're going to use, and this is all the sound that we have available to us, and we cannot manufacture the correct sound from other takes. That's called stuffing it. If you take sound from a different opportunity on another take or either another take or another angle, you could grab sound from another take and stuff it into their mouth. So their mouth is making that, whatever the lip flap is, you could take pre-recorded sound from a different take and stuff it into the mouth. And if you can't make any of that work, then you have to come and have them revoice their. Also, sometimes you're revoicing, you're not revoicing, but you're adding information that was never there, right? So if you cut a scene out and you need vital information from a scene that's now cut out, you have to add that information somehow. Either if there's a shot of me and I'm saying something, and a shot of the reaction, and when you don't see my mouth moving, then even on the shot of my scene partner, I could be also still talking in a way that I could be adding information that was vital to the plot.
like imagine a camera on the back of somebody's head or back as they're exiting a room. They can be throwing something over their shoulder but the actor never did it on the day. But you could go in and add dialogue as they're leaving, or as long as
you've probably seen this before, David, where you're looking at me and this person isn't talking and yet their jaw is doing this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Using a separate take for sure. Whatever to make the magic happen, you know?
Yeah.
So, Anne Marie, is your family in the industry as well, or were you the first?
I'm the first, but I'm very proud to say that my niece, her name is Britt Loder. That was my maiden name, Loder. That was my name actually in this episode because we weren't married yet.
Do you remember? Do you remember from Loder, come here.
Absolutely. And then he gets knocked off by the Unis.
Yeah.
Nice insert of the name.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my niece, Britt Loder, she is 17 and a half. She expressed an interest when she was about 8 or 9 years old to start acting. And so I gave her some sides and ran some scenes with her. And I was like, uh-oh, she could do this. And so got her into some acting camps and acting classes. My brother, I have 2 younger brothers. One lives in Newfoundland, where I was born and raised, and the other lives just outside Halifax with his family. And he has 2 kids, and his daughter, Britt, is the actor. And she did a few things. They moved briefly to Vancouver. So she did like an episode of The Good Doctor and a TV movie. And then just last summer, she did a really large supporting lead in a Hallmark Christmas movie called Christmas Island. And she's beautiful and very tall, and she's very talented. And she actually just won the Nova Scotia Screen Award for that role in that movie.
Wow.
And
I'm going to go and check the Christmas Island.
Christmas
I'll
Island,
go
yeah.
check this one out.
With
And she's-
Andrew Walker, and I can't remember the other gal's name, but she was a standout. And we coached her and went through the script with her because we just happened to be on vacation down there
She's
visiting.
really, really smart, very talented.
Very smart.
I'm pretty sure we're all going to be working for her.
Yeah,
Pretty soon.
she wants to be a director. She went around when she was 9 years old telling people she's going to become an actor so that she can become a director like her Uncle Peter. Yeah.
Ah, that's great. What I'm getting at is kind of a
So no history, but we do have it's in the genes. perhaps.
absolutely. What I'm getting at is kind of leading to a personal question. 'Cause Peter, is Hollywood family. Is there a lot of time spent alone when your partner is, working on set 16, 17, 18 hours a day? Is that kind of baked into the relationship like that?
Totally.
If you're going to go with me on this, if we're going to spend a
are-
life together, there's going to be a lot of times where you're working, where I'm working. One of us is going to have Jake, and that's
Yeah.
that's
You know what?
it.
It's so
He
funny.
was teeing up the story for the.
Oh, maybe that's what triggered it.
Is that why you're doing that? You're teeing up the story over here?
Why am I
No.
making out with the bust of my
No.
husband's head?
Oh, I mean, actually, that leads to other separate questions, but we'll forego those for the first one.
Let me see if I can answer this succincly. Yeah, do you know, there are some actors who say, I could never be married to somebody in the industry. And I've always found that very odd, because when I dated other people outside of the industry, they didn't really get it. And they go, well, how do I know if you're acting with me in our relationship? And I'm like, because they don't have a script and you're not paying me. And why would I want to exhaust myself by doing, like, do you know what I mean? Like that weird thing. I personally like being with somebody in the industry because we both understand each other. We understand the hours. Like when I would call him and say, when he was shooting at the Bridge Studios, I mean, that's 15 minutes from our house. So that was easy. I mean, it was long hours. And back then, early days, when we had Jake, he was writing, directing, and producing. So when he wasn't on set, he was either prepping or in the office writing, and at home nights and weekends 24/7. That went on for several years. But it was just a part and parcel of it. We knew that we were sort of, making hay while the sun shines kind of thing. And that, helped build our life together. And
And it was a great opportunity, which I was not in a position to say no to. And Brad and Robert and Joe and Paul were such excellent mentors. I really did have to take advantage of that situation and learn. Getting paid to learn was an amazing opportunity.
yeah, but I mean, when Peter's prepping, and now it's all changed because of COVID, he preps from home. So I call it him yelling into his computer all day, because he just preps sitting here like this.
And I
doing
use
Zoom.
my outside voice when I'm talking
'Cause he
to
thinks-
all the people.
He thinks if he talks like this, they can't hear him. So I'm like, oh, here he goes, he's yelling into his computer again. So yeah, no, when he's gone, we both are very much introverted. We both like being at home. We both are very content to be alone. It's only now, very recently, because our son has gone off to college, that we call ourselves bird launchers rather than empty nesters. But I haven't had a lot of time where I've been completely alone, because even when he was away working and when he's shooting, usually out in the valley, he goes away Monday to Friday and then he comes home on the weekends. And so I was always still in mom mode or auditioning mode or whatever. And we were very fortunate. My parents, my mom's passed a couple of years ago, but my parents just live around the corner. And so when we both ended up working at the same time, they were here to pick up the slack and
that's
help.
huge.
It was humongous. I mean, I don't think I would have had any career if my parents had not been here.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
It does. Absolutely.
So to answer your question, it feels really, really normal for us and for me, for him to be working. And honestly, he's so happy when he's working because he loves, being stimulated and having
Professionally.
He's making things, he's creating. So it's just our normal.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that John Smith reinforced, to me when we had the chance to have him on a couple of months ago, is that it was very important for Stargate Productions in particular to maintain as much as possible a semblance of a 9 to 5, because otherwise, and he gave examples where people die early. They're burning the candle at both ends, and maintaining a 9 to 5 allows, as much as possible, allows a production to run for 17 television seasons, because they're not exhausting themselves for 2 or 3 years.
So that's an interesting point. And John's right. The life expectancy of people working on film and television is much shorter than average. Because of I think because of the long hours and
the conditions outside.
There's a certain amount of stress that's going on, and I guess the food the food is good, but it's not the best for you, right?
Right.
Well, it's easy to snack on junk.
Oh no, I forgot the point I was going to make.
9 to 5, lack of sleep. There's
right. So Jim Menard, one of our DOPs on the director of photography, there was one time in the script where it called for it. He raised up his hand and he halted the concept meeting, which is the first meeting we have for the what are we going to do this the beginning of prep. And he said, "What does EXT period NIGHT exterior night? What does that mean?" Because
Jim Menard.
So the reason he said it, it was being completely and utterly sarcastic.
It's so rare.
Exterior night had been taken out of the script because of what you're talking about and trying to keep 9 to 5 your daytime hours. And if we did have nighttime, we would do it a lot of times we would do it in the studio.
Interior night, because you can shoot it during the day.
Well, we could fake an exterior set, right? So everybody had a big old laugh about that because there was no exterior night on the show.
That's a great sign for your production as well, that they're really trying to do everything they can to, keep the families from pulling their hair out. So how big is the production team when the show's in production? Is it 100, 150?
There's quite a lot of people. There are. I can't give you the exact number, but the unit got so large at one point that John Smith actually said that the two-handers, that's scenes with only 2 people in them, became the domain of second unit. So if you only had 2 people in a scene, then that was a lower priority than a scene that which is a head scratcher there, right? It's like, wow, we have so many people that we it doesn't make sense to do a two-hander scene. Wow. And the other thing that was I'm
gonna let the dog out of the crate.
Oh, sorry. Our dog is wanting some attention.
Absolutely, love dogs.
Rowdy, you want to show them? Rowdy?
Love to see dog.
Come here, Rowdy. Come here.
Rowdy, come.
Rowdy is a Labradoodle, and he's
Rodney. Come here, Rodney. Come on.
Rowdy. ROWDY.
Rowdy. I see tail.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Aww, he's gorgeous.
Come here, look, say hi. Look, what's this right here?
Hi, Rowdy. How you doing? Are you a good boy? Oh, love dad. Yes. How old is Rowdy?
Ooh, he's 6.
Aw,
He'll be 7.
Okay. I bet Jake misses him.
He does.
For sure.
Yeah.
Is he in town? Is he nearby?
Jake's
States.
he's in the States. He's in his he's just finished his second year of
Okay.
he wants to be a game designer.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a hard job. I worked with them on Stargate Worlds. That is a hard job, man. And hard as much as competitive. So
Sure.
that is not an easy industry to crack. It's not for everybody.
That's great. Thanks, David.
Thanks,
So
David.
my point is, if he can pull it off, he's got it. So
Well, this kid has been designing games since he could walk and talk, so
Yeah.
there's nothing that he wanted to do.
Loves board games. Always got. What do we got there? Let me grab some of those over here. This is next
do
time he
it-
comes home, we'll do escape room in a box. And this is a murder
Cold
mystery,
case,
cold
yeah,
case.
in a box, yeah.
Gotta do it.
wow, that's great. That's great.
Well, and
It's
here's
board
a
game
little
family.
For you, escape rooms. That's our hobby. That's what we love.
Love them.
We've done over
Absolutely.
100 escape rooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anne Marie, 6 years later, you came back for an SG-1 episode called Bounty.
Nice transition.
Yes, and I want to double check here. This episode in season 9, there was a reference that Cameron Mitchell, played by Ben Browder, made to an old fling in high school by the name of Amy Vandenberg. You mean there's a reality out there where I got together with Amy Vandenberg, and we see her in this episode played by you. Now, did you audition for her, or was this an offer?
No, I auditioned.
Okay.
I don't know. Stargate never offered me anything.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I auditioned for it.
But
I
what
don't
were the
remember
requirements?
much about it. Well,
You
she had-
needed to be. You needed to have the qualities that somebody that Cam's character
would be attracted
pine
to.
for.
Yeah.
So she had to not just be a good-looking person, but
Be smart.
and charismatic, and have all the qualities that we hope that your hero would appreciate in a woman, right? If you were shallow and vapid, he would look
Yeah,
foolish for liking you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Was this this was basically done in a high school gymnasium. What do you remember about this episode?
I had a blast doing this one. I actually had more fun doing this one.
Not playing
Yeah.
the white supremacists.
Yeah, exactly. That helped, and not having the dust and a
Yeah.
sinus infection and all that stuff. But no, because it was fun and flirty, and I got to
You got to make out with Ben Browder.
Oh my God. So that's hilarious. So I might have met Ben, like shake his hand, hi, nice to meet you, like for 3 seconds on a visit. Because I would visit the Stargate set maybe like once or twice a year. I'd bring Jake.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I may have met him, or I might have just seen him across the studio or something. But basically, when I actually really met him was the kissing scene. So I literally
At the farm.
It's
like-
scheduled first, right?
that was my very first scene on that episode.
Of course it is.
It was like, hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm Anne. Yeah, Peter's wife. Yeah, hi. Okay. And then Peter's like, okay, guys, you're standing right here, and okay, then you do your talkie, and
We
then
talked about the nose.
kissy.
Whose nose is going to be
be on the
which
front.
side.
Yeah. and all that. And it
You
was
always got to figure out the noses.
it was so funny because Ben was feeling very awkward and uncomfortable about kissing Peter's
Producer's
wife.
wife.
Yeah, and director. And
Yeah.
so that was really, it was funny, but I just had to kind of whisper to him and say, dude, just go for it. He's fine. He's the least jealous man I've ever met. And
It was hot.
They looked good together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she's such a good kisser.
It was a
I knew it
sweet-
was going to come out.
it was a sweet scene. And I just, you know what? I just kind of gave Ben permission to like, just relax. But, and then Peter, of course, it was so, what was it? And, oh, we finished the scene. We had kissed enough, and it was supposed to like, okay, and we're out. And Peter just lets the camera roll. So we're still kissing. And then Peter's like, okay, now give her a little bit of tongue or whatever. So then-
Jeez.
So then Ben and I are like, flipping off the camera.
Flipping the bird.
So it was, and it lightened it up for everybody. Because I think a lot of people were like, oh, how's Peter going to feel about this? And so we had to make it
Everyone was
okay
so
for
concerned about my feelings. I'm so
Well, yeah,
sorry.
because you're a human being, and humans can get jealous, even unintentionally.
Well,
So,
he had already directed me kissing Joe Lando on Higher Ground before that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Ben Browder was just another notch in your belt.
My actor belt, my on-screen belt.
Well, I love this episode. One of my this is gonna sound so shallow. David Lovgren played Daryl, his best friend, and one of my favorite lines from this episode is, "She looked back and she looks good."
Do you remember that wasn't in the thing?
No, I remember that there was a lot of fun.
I had it in my head. I said, you know that there's feelings there.
Yeah, he does. He's his best friend from high school.
So you have to walk away, and then David Lovgren is being a lookout for you. And you did look back, and she looked back. And then so I was trying to let the audience know that there was that the feelings were reciprocated.
Yeah.
Not in the script, but tons of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much
Also,
fun.
it created chemistry between Cam and David Lovgren's character, right?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. These guys have known each other for years. So
He was the consummate wingman, right?
absolutely, everyone's got to have someone watching their back, especially in relationship matters. Especially when you know that this is the guy that you've known, since you were kids. He really has feelings for this person, and it didn't work out the first time around. And it turns out that she's a divorcee. So there's chance. I think when I had Ben on a little while back, I think made it pretty clear that I don't think they left it at that. I hope that they didn't. I hope that they found each other again, because at the very least, she recognized from the circumstances of the episode the importance of what it is that he does. She may not know the details of it, but she knows that it's a job and someone's got to do it. And it should be him. So yeah. It's a good scene.
What did Ben say about that episode?
Go watch it. It was a lot.
I'm going to have to.
He enjoyed it. Absolutely. Ben's a good guy. Ben's a really good guy. But also, I love the episode because it puts Claudia in an awkward position as the alien going through all the tropes of the high school reunion.
Right.
Yeah, but she didn't think much of Amy. What did she think? That was beige or bland or something?
A Cure for Insomnia.
Oh yeah, she said that was a horrible line. Cure for Insomnia.
She was playing a scoundrel. She was a bad
It's
girl,
Vala.
right?
Yeah, Vala doesn't like anybody.
Right. She was just threatened.
And she
by
was
Amy.
dressed as Dorothy to facilitate the Wizard of Oz theme again, right?
Did you put her in the Dorothy outfit for the country stuff?
That wasn't up to me.
Okay.
I think it just happened, and I was like, oh, there it is again, right? Another tip of the hat to the Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
I love that scene. Where does it that you work? Accounts, receivable, click, click. She's a badass.
Yeah, she was great. She was breastfeeding at that point. She had a new baby,
Yeah,
and she
Odin.
went to her trailer to pump every so often. And yeah, David Lovgren, I haven't seen him in so many years, but he was so fun. And Jackie Blackmore, she was another one of the high school. She was
She's
awesome.
As Jackie.
And the fellow who played Ben's father, Ian.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yes.
Ian Robeson is
Ian
actually
Robeson.
younger than Ben, and he was playing his
in
dad.
real life.
Yeah.
And they just aged him up a little
And they
bit.
gave him a cane or a walking stick.
Well, the thing was, he was already established in a previous episode, I think in season 9, as the actor. So it made sense not to recast, but to just age him. So, and he looks structural. There's similarities there. So when you've got a great actor, especially with.
He is.
Yeah.
Ian is an excellent actor, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a resemblance there too, which is an
And Mike Dopud is a sweetheart. He's a friend. I've worked with him several times.
Love
and
the
so
man.
it was just a hoot. It was like, the gang's all here. It was really fun.
He plays bad so good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He played so many different bad guys on that show, and then when they brought him in for Varro, I know for contracts and it just made sense to me that it was that guy that joined up with the Lucian Alliance. I had wished that they had just done Odai Ventrell for the show, but instead they created a new character, which is fine, But I loved his character. You watch Universe. I loved his kind of arc in season 2, where he just started to recognize, the things that were really important when the rubber really meets the road and you're out there hanging off the edge of the universe, Good guy, really good guy.
Sweetheart. Yeah.
And he's been through so much in real life. I think he was a professional hockey player at one point. And then he was even in he was in Rollerball, the remake of Rollerball. He is a tough guy. And his early on-screen stuff was stunts, right?
Mhm.
And yeah,
He was in Ace of Hearts with me. He was the bad guy.
Was
I
he?
did a movie with Dean
Yeah,
Cain.
he's had a really good run, and he's a sweetheart. He's a really laid back, really pleasant to be around.
Yeah, you can see the good ones, who the good ones are, because they're constantly getting the work because people enjoy working with them.
Totally. Yeah.
I have completely lost track of the time. I have fan questions. Can you guys stick around for a little bit longer?
Sure.
Or do you have to go?
No,
I don't
what
have to
time is
go.
it? Oh, no, we're good.
Okay. Lock Watcher, I have not reviewed these, so let's see if I can review them in real time. Lock Watcher, question for David and Anne. David and Anne. Peter and Anne. Come on, guys.
Maybe it's a question for you.
David, his brothers, his father, Dom, were always so funny. How were family gatherings with the DeLuise family, Anne Marie?
Three-ring circus, a lot of improv games, loud, a lot of laughing. And one of the things that when I first started dating Peter, when I first went to LA to meet the family, he said, just so you know, you got to contribute. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you can't just sit there and answer questions with yes and no. They're going to ask you to say grace or make a speech, or, you've got to speak up. And his dad had a rule that if somebody, because they would have these crazy big dinner parties and you never knew who was going to be there. And it was just boisterous and loud and really fun. And he said, so-and-so, that new guy, he came and he didn't talk. We tried to engage him and he just, he got to enjoy all of the fun and everything, but he didn't say anything. So he's out.
You're out.
You didn't bring anything to the table.
No,
Exactly.
He didn't speak. He didn't contribute. You got to sing for yourself.
And so when Peter said this, and he said, you gotta talk to them, whatever, you gotta speak up. I said, dude, parents love me. I'm good. We're good.
Emily's not a shrinking violet.
No.
No, you were great.
I had Live with Regis and Kelly on once, and Regis said, yeah, I went out with Dom DeLuise last night. I can only imagine the people that came through that door that you met. So
you never knew who was going to be in the kitchen when you walked in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Tracy, my moderator. Anne Marie, I read that you're from St. John's, Newfoundland. Do you and your family get to visit the, is it Maritimes or Maritimes?
Maritimes.
Maritimes very often. Tracy, you misspelled it. So where is your favorite place? And if so, where is your favorite place to go?
Well, so I'm going to give a little education lesson. So the Maritimes is actually Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. Okay. So Newfoundland and Labrador, where I grew up, is not a maritime province, but it's an Atlantic province. So the Atlantic provinces it's four of them. It includes the Maritimes and Newfoundland, Labrador. And where do for a long time, I would go home. I could still call it home, to St. John's, on average once every couple of years, or maybe once a year, for a period of time. And then there were big stretches where I didn't go back. I have my one brother who lives there, and he does have a live-in girlfriend, but doesn't have any kids. And I do have I have like 41 first cousins, a lot of but
we don't know what's causing it.
Catholicism and no birth control back in the day. That's what caused it.
Long, dark winters.
Yeah, exactly. And not much to do. But no, I love going back to St. John's. I do have several really close girlfriends from university. I did a Bachelor of Commerce degree before I became an actor. And so I have some close friends back there that I would like to see more often. But it's a long haul. It's a good 8.5 hours in the air. And that's not including a stopover, in either Toronto or Montreal to get there. So it's a long way to go. If you're going to go, you can go for a period of time.
And get the kosher meal. It's always better.
Yeah. And but my brother lives in Halifax, and I do enjoy going there, because of the kids, and we do a lot of fun things. So I like both Halifax and St. John's.
Did your parents follow you out to the West Coast?
They did. Oh. My baby brother and I were in a race to have the first grandchild, and we beat them by 4 weeks. So we won grandparents.
Yeah, I lived out west for years. My folks just weren't doing it. It's too much stuff to move. So I knew if I was ever going to be near them again, I would have to come back. So I'm in Nashville.
Nashville.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Cool.
I'm 3 hours from them, which is just a perfect distance. No drop pop-ins. No saw your light was on. So, absolutely. I've never asked this of you, Peter. Christian, unpronounceable, says that's literally what it says. What was it like working with Johnny Depp in 21 Jump Street? Have you bumped into him since? I've never asked you about Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp was he replaced Jeff Yeager on the show, so that he started off in an unenviable situation, and then quickly became the face of the Fox lineup. His face and name were being used to promote the whole Fox lineup, and he was always really intuitive, really smart actor, and I think he resented the situation that he was in, where he was being set up as a teen idol, and he wanted to do profoundly deeper, more important, socially relevant work, and so he was struggling between doing what was what I think he would have described as a kid show, and more important. It's during the off season, he was being asked to do bigger and bigger films for huge paydays, and getting to work with some really big name actors and very skilled, talented actors and
Directors, yeah.
and directors, right? Of course. So he was obligated to stay on the show because he had a contract, but he was also seeing, he was also being pulled in that direction because he was such a talented guy. Mm-hmm. Ironically, he was quite shy, right? Mm-hmm. So when he was playing a different person who wasn't himself, he was amazing, right? And but also in what I've described as that scenario, he was somewhat tortured, right? So I didn't really blame him for wanting to be on the bigger, better shows. Mm-hmm. And so when he took off like a rocket, that didn't surprise me. I just thought he was so talented that nothing was going to stop him, right? Mm-hmm. And but so he's smart and good looking, and so what was it like to work with him? He was really smart and fiercely loyal, an amazingly loyal friend, and everyone around him who had that bond knew that was unbreakable with them.
Do you ever communicate with him?
I only the short answer, no. The one time that we did end up doing something together was the movie remake, with the Jonah Hill remake and we did those cameos. Mm-hmm. And one of his conditions was he said, I will be on the show under these conditions. You have to kill my character, and I want Peter DeLuise there. So I'm eternally grateful to him for making that a condition of his employment. So that it was a great opportunity to hang out with him.
Was it the same characters or different characters in the movie?
Oh, we were reprising our roles.
Okay, sorry, Anne Marie.
In the movie, yeah, and they were not credited because it was supposed to be a surprise. Yeah,
got it. Yeah, I went with Peter for that week that he was there, and met Johnny that the very, very long day that they shot with him, and we had a very long dinner with him the night before, and he was absolutely lovely, very kind, just spoke so highly of other people, and he was just lovely. But to answer your question, he did reach out when Peter's dad died.
That's true.
He did. And also there was another time he was in Vancouver after Heath Ledger passed away. He and several other actors took over for the role in The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. And so Johnny reached out, and Peter went over to the set to visit and hung out with him for a few hours back then.
That was awesome.
But so he does reach out once in a blue moon, but it's not like regular contact or anything.
There are few actors that absolutely, when I'm watching, absolutely recede into the character, and sometimes when you just turn something on, it's like, oh, that's Johnny Depp. Like, I don't recognize him. He just absolutely disappears into the role. him, Helena Bonham Carter. There are a few that's like, where do they go? Who is this thing that's coming out? And part of it's makeup, but wow. Yeah, for sure. Phoenix, let me move to another one here. Paul Brinkler and Hunatuum, question for you both. What do you love doing outdoors in Vancouver?
Oh, hiking.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. Hiking.
Does the dog enjoy it?
The dog loves it.
That's where I'm going right now after this. I'm meeting a girlfriend to go for a hike with Rowdy.
Right. Anne Marie calls it hiking. I call it chafing. Yeah.
We actually just did a 5-day.
We
did a 5-day guided hiking trip to Utah just a few weeks ago.
Oh, great. Arches, Zion,
Bryce Canyon,
Moab,
Lands. What's the other? The Capitol Reef. Yeah, it was amazing.
Great area. Absolutely great area. You guys, this has been terrific having you. Anne Marie, really appreciate you taking the time coming on and
my pleasure.
Sharing a little of your life. Peter, man, I love you so much. I really appreciate you continuing to, support me and this project. So means everything to have you both for a little while. Thank you for spending some time with me today.
Thank you, David. And thank you for inviting Anne Marie and including her. That was very sweet of you. And thank you for doing this, documenting all of our experiences with regard to Stargate, and having the verbal history being recorded is quite special. And I'm
absolutely
to you for it. And please give my best to your parents.
I will do. They're poking around here somewhere. They're here this weekend. So, but thanks so much, guys. Anne Marie, I really appreciate you taking. You were always one of my favorites. So
oh my gosh!
This is. I didn't want it to be awkward. Like, I really want your wife to come on. it's like
I feel a kissing scene coming on.
Oh my god! If only. No, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. You take care. All right.
David.
Thank you. Anne Marie DeLuise and Peter DeLuise. Really appreciate you all tuning in. If you enjoy what you're seeing, please hit like. It really makes a difference with the show and will continue to help us grow our audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you, so you'll know the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both Dial the Gate and the GateWorld.net YouTube channels. Thank you to my wonderful moderating team, everyone involved, and everyone in front of or behind the scenes, I should say, to get the show up and running. We're back with Armin Shimmerman in 50 minutes, so join us then. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I will see you on the other side.